Today, we're talking about understanding the word of wisdom, the word of wisdom. Now, you don't think of that being one of the 9 spiritual gifts. In fact, it's probably the least sought after gift. But I'm going to tell you something that's something you will want after we get through today. It's a gift of the Spirit that you will see has multiple uses and purposes. And it is something that will give unto you the ability to be able to unlock many different things that you thought you never could figure out. The understanding of the word of wisdom begins like this. If you don't have understanding of what you have wisdom in, you will never figure it out, because understanding is the lock, and the wisdom will unlock that lock if you only listen to the interpretation. The book of Proverbs is a book of wisdom. That was originally the name of the whole book, was a book of wisdom. Most of that came from, if not all of it, came from Solomon. And he was the wisest man, it says in the scriptures, of all times. He was the most wealthiest person too. Per capita in his period of time, in retrospect to where we are today, he'd have more wealth than anybody else today, in the same categorization as what he was in back in his time. Now there's 1,800 parts, 1,800 verses of the book of wisdom, Proverbs, that's missing. It never got to the scriptures not enclosed in the canon. And I was told when I was young, when I began to ask my uncle and aunt, I said, look, can you teach me wisdom? I need some wisdom, because I'm making stupid mistakes and decisions that are not panning out like they should, or like I think they ought to. So they said, well, son, just begin to read the book of Proverbs. It is the book of wisdom. Well, they said there's 31 chapters and there's 31 days in some of the months. And if you'll just read a chapter a day each month, and there will be months where you'll just go to 28, but they said you can go ahead and read the rest of them if you want to in that same night. But I started that. I started reading the book of Proverbs, and I was like, scratching my head. I don't get it. If it's a book of wisdom, why does it sound so ridiculous? Some of the things that are written in here. And so I began to pray about it. I said, God, help me with this. I don't understand how this is supposed to make me a wiser person. And then it began to happen. And this is what you need to know. When you begin to take on the book of Proverbs, you'll find that there'll be many things in there that you just don't quite get your brain wrapped around. And then you'll be going through a process one day, maybe it's something at work or at home, and you realize this is something kind of like that proverb I read just the other night. It makes a little bit of sense now. And before you know it, it'll come together in your mind as the Lord begins to tweak your little brain there, kind of like a soundboard. He's got to move all those little dials, slide those things up and down to get you just right to where you can start locking in on his wisdom. And yet, there's a lot to be said about the gift of wisdom that is very positive. But the fact is, in all your wisdom, get understanding, because it's kind of like tongues without interpretation. You don't know what you're saying, and nobody else does unless somebody interprets. The same thing with wisdom. You need understanding, but understanding is not one of the gifts. Understanding is something you must do. The wisdom will come. The wisdom is there. In fact, you've already had wisdom come to you at many times in your life, and you didn't realize it, but it was God giving you wisdom about something you did not understand. And maybe you didn't know how to figure something out, that you were trying to put something together. And like me, you probably didn't read the instructions. I get in trouble for that a lot, because I get halfway through it and it's all wrong and I can't figure out what to do next. And I got extra nuts and bolts and stuff. And, thinking, wait a minute, I should have read the instructions. Well, the fact is, it's the same way. Read the instructions. but the instructions are going to be written on the tablets of your heart. Why am I supposed to read things that are written by the finger of God on the tablets of my heart to tell me what's going on? That's where it comes in. That's where it begins, is hearing God. That's where wisdom begins, is hearing God. That's where wisdom begins to open up into you all different kinds of channels and turn into little streams. And then the next thing you know, you got a river running. And the next thing you know, you got a flood of information flowing through you. And people are in awe. You're just totally shocked at your abilities that you did not have before. My life, only person I know how to talk to and give bad, good, and stupid information is myself. But I didn't know a whole lot. I didn't do good in school. I had a hard time. I couldn't read. I didn't read until I got in college, to be honest with you. And I was a goofball. I was just there to have a good time. I thought school was like prison. Get me out of this place. Let that bell ring. I'm going home. I'm going to go find some kids. We're going to play. I wasn't interested in the school at all. In fact, I got in trouble a lot. But here's what I'm getting to. I didn't know much, and I needed to know more than I did. But when I got to the place to where I graduated from high school, I was starting to get a little bit of wisdom. In fact, God gave me the ability to be able to write a poem. In my senior year, by accident, I got put into an advanced senior literature class. And I thought, what am I doing in this class? These people are all brainiacs, and I have no clue what they're even talking about. I don't even know grammar, much less English. And now they want me to put me in there to write stuff, essays and stuff. Well, the teacher wanted us to write a poem. A friend of mine and I went to the sand dunes outside of Odessa there in Monahans. There's sand dunes, and you could drive a Jeep across them for miles, and just never see a bush or anything, just sand dunes. And we got out there, and we didn't have a Jeep or anything. We just playing around on the sand, trying to scribble on it, trying to use sandboards. You can do surfing on those sand dunes too. You wax up a board. It's got Formica on the bottom of it and ride down there. Anyway, we were out there doing that, and next thing I know, I'm drawing a cemetery on the side of the hill, side of a dune, and the sand was just damp enough to where it could make some good creases. You could make an indentation and make it look like a good picture. It held its form, so to speak. And while I was doing that, a poem was coming into my mind. I hadn't written a poem for class. I wasn't even thinking about doing that. But this poem came to me, and when I got back to my house, or my rental that I was renting, little shotgun cottage thing that was a army barrack that somebody moved and dropped in on a piece of dirt, and that's where I lived, me and my friend Tommy Pugh. And so I sat down and wrote that out on paper, that poem that I had in my head, and it was quite lengthy. Strawberry Fields Forever was the name of the poem, I remember. Now, I turned it in thinking, well, I'll flunk that just like everything else comes back at me with a D or an F, or if I got a C, I was proud, man. I was sticking my chest out if I got a C. And the teacher brings us all in class the next day, and she says, I've got one poem. I'm so excited about it. I want to read it to you. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is the good stuff right here. And she started reading my poem, Strawberry Fields Forever. And everybody started giving me a hard time because they thought, man, you had to be on drugs to write that. They didn't understand. All I wanted to do was just share something that was in my heart. Something had been written on my heart while I was writing on those sand dunes. I think it was God. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And that changed me. It made me decide that maybe I need to go to college. If I can do this and pass, I passed that class with a B, believe it or not. Advanced Senior English. I got a B. And all I did was a poem. That's all it took. Well, one poem. But after I got in college, then I began to learn, man, I got to read. So I had to go to classes to learn how to read. And bizarre. But I'm just going on to say this. I didn't have a lot to work with mentally, but I had one thing that a lot of people didn't have. I had the word of wisdom coming to me frequently. And the Holy Spirit began to move me through classes in college. I got to where I liked college, I guess because I was paying for it and I could walk out and leave it if I wanted to, but because I already got money invested in it, I thought I better work at it. And then it got to the place where I had to find something to do. I worked in a newspaper office, and that wasn't just, working in a newspaper office wasn't that good money. And I had long hair, ratted jeans, and, it was the days of the yippies and all those type. And we felt like we were something special. But my business machine instructor came to me and she said, "Look, they're building a new bank in town and they're taking applications. You need to go fill out an application." I thought, you're crazy. Look at me. I'm not bank material. I'm blue jeans and plaid shirt and long hair and a mustache. And you want me to go apply for a job at a bank? But I knew that I knew in my knower that word of wisdom came to me, and I had the faith in me to go get that job because I knew it was already mine. That's how clear it was to me. That job's mine. Well, I knew if I can go in there and interview, I go get a haircut. I got to get 2 suits, one to go on the interview and one to wear the first day of work. Now, I didn't have any money, so I had to go charge these suits. But first I had to go get a haircut. I got a haircut as short as it is now with no beard. I think I did leave my mustache on there. So I go in and I get the job. And that began the process. And in less than 10 years, and I was moving around to a couple of banks, moving to 2 different states, I wound up becoming a bank president. Now, I didn't have a lot of money to put in the bank. I didn't have any rich relatives. I didn't have anything like that. I didn't even have what they were looking for in education. But I got the job because God put something on me that they saw and they liked and they wanted it. God just put it on their heart. It says in the Bible, God can change the minds of the judges as he can change the rivers of the waters and turn them whichever way he wants. He can have them change their mind about a decision that maybe they already had their mind made up how they were going to rule on a particular issue. And God can change their mind right there on that spot. Why? Because they're supposed to have some wisdom about them, and they understand the law, or they wouldn't be a judge. And God can move upon them and show them things that nobody even showed them before. They can hear things that nobody even spoke. And you think, well, them people aren't spirit-filled. Well, neither was that donkey that spoke to the mad prophet. The point is God's using the word of wisdom a lot. Now, when you have this gift of wisdom and you get the understanding, you're going to find that God's going to open up doors of prosperity for you. And that's what he did for me in this. And when I was in the banking business, I was young. I was 32 years old when I became a bank president. That's young. And I was sitting in a pinnacle of situations because now I was made the CEO of a bank holding company, which had 4 banks under it and an insurance company. So I don't know nothing about all this stuff, but God led, God had directed me. All I had to do is wait on him to give me the wisdom of what to do, because there was many problems, many things to fix, and nobody had any kind of plans or instructions how to fix it. It all had to come from one person. Somebody had to make the decision. It was me. So I had to find out, okay. But God would always give it to me so easy. It's just like people thought, man, he's just amazing. He does this stuff without even thinking. That's true. I did these things without even thinking, because God was orchestrating it for me. And he can do it for you too. You too. People were about to go into an age of prosperity like we've never seen before in these United States of America. We've seen some popular times of living in the United States, and it was, you could make money falling off logs. Well, we're coming into a place where you won't even have to fall off the log. You'll just sit on it and make money. Now you're thinking, well, brother, you're just leading people down a primrose. It's not true. Well, I tell you, the things that I'm telling you today are true, because what I told you last week, last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, How many people believe that Trump would be a president again? I mean, I was telling people and I stood on it. I wasn't going to back off. I had people call me up and say, man, we're so sorry. We're going to stay with you even though you missed it. I didn't feel like I missed it. I know my God. I know my God's going to do it. In the same way you need to be whenever you get a word from God, you need to just hold on to it like a terrapin turtle stuck on a finger. You got to bite down, man, and you don't let go until the thunder hits and lightning strikes. You got to be in a place to where you're ready to do what God says, irregardless of what everybody else says, irregardless of what the circumstances look like. No matter, it didn't matter even if they convicted him and got his mug shot and saying he's going to put him in jail. God rules, and he can change the minds of whoever he needs to at any given moment. And he's about to do some things that are going to shock people to the core. When we start seeing people getting locked up, now that I say that because you need to be prepared. And you need to be prepared to the fact that God might be wanting to change your mind on some things. Evil will not prosper in this land. Good is the only way that you'll make it. Being good, kind, and gentle to your fellow mankind. That's the only way you're going to make it. And as you do that, listen to me, as you do that, God will prosper you. You understand what I'm saying? You be gentle, nice, and quit walking around complaining about everything. Please. You're going to have to get your antenna with optimistic attitude and just send out that signal that you're optimistic about everything. Stop being down in the mouth on all those issues. Don't be, what was that purple donkey's name? Eeyore. You know, Eeyore. I don't know if y'all remember that. My youngest daughter, she watched that a lot. And we even bought Eeyore. And I'd tell her sometimes when she get all down and out, I said, don't be an Eeyore. No, she'd get mad at me. You don't need to be an Eeyore. You need to be somebody positive. Somebody that's got something to live for. Get happy about it because it's going to be good. But if you want to be a bad, got to let it be bad. Got to let you just wallow around in it if you want to. He'll love you just the same, but he'll love you more, I think. I really do believe he'll love you more if you be positive about it because you're helping other people be positive because they want to be around people who are positive. They want to be around people who are good. Now, we haven't even got talking about the scripture in this, but let me pull up a scripture because if not, I'm going to just rattle on all day long. And you're probably thinking, well, when are you going to start teaching us something? Well, you know, I'm not really a teacher, as I think that's been prevalent through most of the days. Now look at this. We're going to look at something here. Yeah, there it is. The wisdom of Jesus. And this is written in Matthew 13:54. When he had come to his own country, he taught them in their synagogue. Now, Jesus wasn't very old, so that they were astonished and said, where did this man get his wisdom and these mighty works? Now, there again, wisdom is a gift. And the mighty works that they're talking about here are the signs and wonders and the things he did that just baffled them, just floored them. How did you do that? You know, they were used to seeing magicians around and people levitating and stuff like that, you know, warlocks and Jezebels and all that, but they never seen anybody, a man of the cloth, walk in and do what he could do and say what he could say and pick out people and say things about their life that nobody else knew except Jesus and that person he was talking to. There's things that you're going to find out that wisdom comes to you and you're going to see, man, I didn't realize that I could actually do that. But now you got it. Now you got a plan. Now you got a plan. When that plan comes, get the understanding of how to work it out. You got to keep going back to the throne. You got to keep going back to Jesus and seeking him for guidance and direction. Go in, even if you feel like you're doing everything right, go to him and just humbly seek him. And you don't have to go get on your knees and put your face on the floor and all that. Just, if you just get ready to go to sleep at night, just talk to him. Just talk to him. And you'll find out he will begin to speak to you during the day when you're wide awake. A lot of times I'll pray right to sleep. I mean, I'm having trouble going to sleep. I'll start praying. Next thing I know, I look at the clock and I've already been asleep 4 hours, and I realize that, wow, if I want to go back to sleep, all I got to do is pray, start praying. But what happens is when I do that, then the Lord speaks to me through the day and gives me bits and pieces of wisdom, knowledge, understanding, direction, all kinds of stuff. So we're going to go on to the next thing. Where do you get wisdom? Now, I'm going to give people the understanding of how you get a gift, spiritual gift, because we're going to talk just a little bit about the handkerchief and the impartation according to 1 Timothy 4:14. Now, not very many people writing in saying, I want a gift of prophecy. I want a gift of wisdom. I want a gift of healing. I want a gift. But I'm telling you, I'm going to make it available, but you got to send me at least $77. I mean, because these handkerchiefs, I can't get these handkerchiefs anymore. And I got just a small bundle left. And once they're gone, they're gone. And what we're working toward getting back to the place where we were when we began to give these out. Hand to the king. Hand to the king. Now, I know that's a trinket from Game of Thrones, but don't you realize that the Bible is written in a way to where it talks about kings and Lord of Lords? And you know what I'm saying? And evidently God wants to keep going that direction. So he wants us to look at this as something that will give us a knowledge of the fact that we are part of the hand of God. When you're part of the hand of God, you're working in some of the spiritual gifts. You're working in the spiritual gifts and you have mastered your gift. And you're in a place to where God can use you at the beckoning call. He can trust you to be there. When we get to that place, you're going to see God's going to begin to use you in such mighty ways. It'll shock people. It'll shock you because you have chosen to seek the greater things of this world, which are the gifts of the Spirit. Jesus Christ is obviously, he's the master of it all. He's the one that's going to supply you all your needs. He's going to want to give you the breath to live. He's the one that's going to open up the doors and close the doors, but he's also going to appoint an angel to minister for you, according to Hebrews 1:14, so that you can see that this gift begins to work. And you're going to understand then why John 14:12 works so well in your life. John 14:12 is a mystery gift. That's one of those gifts. That's one of those scriptures that cause people to wonder, what in the world does that mean? Greater work we will do than Jesus? How's that possible? Because he goes to be with the Father? Well, we know where Jesus is now, so what's the problem? The problem is we're not picking up and asking. He said, earnestly seek the gifts. Earnestly seek them. You're not asking for something bad. And if you get an angel of the Lord appointed to minister for you, that's not bad. You can ask for a demon. He ain't going to send you one, but I bet you one will come find you. Now, why wouldn't God give you an angel to help support you, help work with you, to work for you, as it says in Hebrews 1:14? So let's see what else it says about Jesus, because I'm getting hard to tie down today, aren't I? I'm just all over the place. The wisdom of Jesus. And then we get to the place to where we got to get, where do we get wisdom? Where do you find wisdom? To know wisdom and instruction, to know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, to receive the instruction of wisdom, justice, judgment, and equity, to give prudence to the simple, to the young man, knowledge and discernment. Discretion, knowledge and discretion. So this is out of Proverbs, one of those verses out of Proverbs 1:1-4. To know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, to receive the instruction of wisdom, justice, judgment, and equity, to give prudence to the simple, to the young man, knowledge and discretion. So that's a lot right there, just in one passage of information that you need to soak in a little while and get all the understanding of what he's saying here. But that equity part's one thing you need to really focus in on. Equity. That is another word for wealth. When you have equity, it means you have more than enough. You have plenty of reserves. If you have equity in your house, it means you've got a lot of value still left in your house. And that's a good thing, because to have equity left in your house means that if you need to really get money and you're in a bad way, you can always sell your house and take that money and do something with it. A lot of people work toward their retirement is basically all the money's in their house. And when they sell the house, they'll take that money and downsize and live somewhere else free of any debts. You know, wisdom is one of the spiritual gifts. We'll keep bringing that forward. And wisdom is a little bit different in the fact that you say, give me a word of knowledge. Well, I'm telling you something that's already happened in your life. But wisdom is different. Wisdom is something from this standpoint. It's a totally reverse. You go to God and ask him for direction. When you get a prophecy, it's what God wants to say to you. When you need wisdom, you go to God to seek it. And when he gives it to you, you need to have the understanding, and he'll give you the understanding if you keep seeking him. You got to keep going to the well. You got to keep reading the scriptures. If you want to get wisdom, keep reading the book of Proverbs. Stay in it. And you'll see it will make you wiser. I mean, I don't know how it happens. I don't know why it does, but all of a sudden you'll get wiser. And you'll find out the benefits. Now, I'm going to get this one more scripture in, because I got some things I need to talk about. So I don't want to get too far out of line with what we're doing here today. But wisdom is an all-purpose gift. That's an interesting thing to say. Wisdom is an all-purpose gift. And here's what it says in Exodus 31, verses 3-5. I have filled him with the Spirit of God, in wisdom and understanding, in knowledge, and in all manner of workmanship, to design artistic works, to work in gold, in silver, in bronze, in cutting jewels, for setting and carving wood, and work in all manner of workmanship. Now, what's he talking about here? The wisdom, God, the Spirit of God gave the man wisdom, and then understanding, and then the knowledge to be able to teach others how to begin to work in all different crafts. In America right now, there's not very much money to be made in being a psychologist or being even a doctor. I mean, you think, well, that make a lot of money, but there's so many of them. It's hard for them to get started. But you find me a plumber, find me an electrician, find me a heat and air guy. It gets tough because the people of labor are hard to find. They are workmen of their craft. And when you find somebody that's good at their craft, you found somebody that will always have a job. Now, we had a young man here he came out to work on the air conditioner here for this office that I'm in right now. And it was a mess. Young man, it's 101 degrees outside. And he fought it. He stayed out there with it until he got it all cleaned out and fixed and is ready to go. That's why it's so nice and here to do today. But the fact is, he wanted to talk to me about his life. He wanted to talk to me about whether he was making the right choices or not. Now, I say he's young. He's not even a licensed heat and air fella. He's working for a company under somebody who is. But he says, I'm going to work toward getting my license in heat and air. HVAC, some of them call it AC and heat and air. But he says, I'm also thinking about getting my master's in electricity as an electrician. I told him, I said, son, you do that and you train up people under you to work in those two crafts, because that's just what it got through saying there in Exodus. You get the knowledge to where you can teach others how to do it. And when you start doing that, that's when you start seeing the equity begin to build in mega script. In fact, my plumber today, when he first came to my house as a young man, He didn't know much, but what he knew, he took care of. And he was a worker. And I watched him, and I've talked to him many times. We visited many, many times that he's come here to work on different things. And now today, he's been a master plumber now for at least 10 years. And he's training other guys to get their license. And he just spends a lot of his time with his wife and his new baby. And he's sitting back, he's young. He's basically working in a retired position at 40 years old. If he's that, he may not even be 40. But he's put himself in a position where he was not afraid of labor. Labor is one of the things that we have greatest need of. Nobody should be able to say they can't find work, because if you go to a trade school for about $8,000 versus going to any university costs $100,000, you will come out making more money by far in the first year you graduate than you would. You'll be paying a school debt. How many people? It's over $1 trillion in school debt that's hanging over the heads of these people out there that went to a lot of school and can't do anything with it. They can't make the money. It's just wisdom is needed so badly, but also people need to start looking to God for guidance and direction. He will lead, guide, and direct you into the things that are most prosperous for you, and you are created for to do, and will enjoy it far greater than you ever thought, because he created you to do it. And that's will lead you in a place to where you'll be able to be in a position of evangelizing, prophesying, doing all kinds of things. Get the gifts, but then also get the wisdom to go with it, because it will give you great gain in many different directions. I want to leave y'all today with great love. I love you. I want to see you prosper. We got to get some people ready to start moving in the gifts and power of God. The Spirit of God is moving across the land, and people are going to start getting hungry real quick. They're going to want more of God, more of God. They want to see more. They get, that day that you got saved, born again, you knew that you knew in your knower, man, I was a sinner and God saved me. I know I'm saved now. My name's written in the Lamb's Book of Life, and I'm on his roll. I'll be there. I'll be there when the day comes. But then after umpteen years of going to church, going through the same routine over and over, you start getting a little cold, wondering, man, I sure would like to have that feeling I had when I got born again. You can have it. I mean, really, you get spirit filled, you'll have it as often as you want, because all you got to do is just seek a gift and get after it, and God will make things happen for you. I'm here to lay hands on you and to impart unto you a spiritual gift according to 1 Timothy 4:14. Now you can write me at prophetsimpson at gmail, and ask for a gift. Now, I'm not saying God's going to give you that exact gift, but he will give you something because you're seeking. And it might be he give you two, but I'm wanting to get people ready to move in the direction for prosperity, and also to be equipped to help people along the journey, along the way of making yourself one who has the ability to be able to take care of all kind of financial needs for you and others, that you'll also be there to help others who just coming on board, just becoming a spirit filled, or just becoming saved, or just nothing at all. Maybe they need to get saved. This is what we need. This is what we need, people. You need to be an example, and you need to be the witness. So be it. Now, today I'm going to leave you, but I just want you to know, if you want to get a spiritual gift, this is the way to do it. I'm going to start getting more blunt about it, but I want you to know something. It'll be the best thing you can invest into is seeking God for something that nobody can buy. Nobody can buy it. All you're doing is helping me to be able to make the finances to be able to keep doing what I'm doing, pay for this programming, the Zoom and all this stuff, camera works, and also for the handkerchiefs, if I can find somebody to make me some more. I mean, all of it just keeps going to keep me going. And you'll see God will open many doors for you and make it happen in a way that you'll have your own testimony to share what God's done in your life. So be it. God bless you all, and to all a good day.